There is an air of weight about the courtroom that isn't normal, as if the air itself senses something explosive about to happen. The bulbs hum overhead with a soft buzzing that flickers ever so slightly, ever so noticeably. Those seated turn and whisper theories and hypotheses, guesses and rumor and prediction, none of which are ready for what will occur. The wooden double doors creak open, and a silence passes through the room, quicker than a gavel. Christine and Janelle are seated on the left side with composed expressions but alert eyes. Christine keeps her arms folded, as if holding herself together, while Janelle paces short and swift taps on her knee, which are the only signs of her nerves. And then the whole room goes rigid, because Meri comes alone. No lawyer but her, no ally backing her up. She moves deliberately, feet slow and deliberate, with every step punctuated by the echoes of her heels on the floor. She holds a manila envelope clutched tightly in her hands, so tightly that the envelope itself is folded around her fists. Her jaw is set and her back straight and strong, but her eyes are like someone who's made amends with the tempest they are about to let loose. Everyone's eyes are on her as she walks towards the front. As soon as Kody sees the envelope, he freezes. His face sets into a mask of fear and anger. Fear beyond anything the audience has ever witnessed from him. Robyn's hands immediately grasp at his arm. She leans in so that her whispers are so frenzied that everyone from the back row can see her trembling lips. Kody pushes her away with a vigorous shake of his head. Meri sets down the envelope on the table. It's a soft thud, but it falls like a bombshell in the center of the room. "Meri Brown," he said, "you have asked for an emergency evidentiary statement. Please proceed." Her voice whispers quietly at first, then more steadily. "I brought something today that changes everything." The room shifts. Everyone sits up straight. Their breathing slows. It appears there is something that this court needs before it can make any determination with regards to the custody and property petitions filed by the Browns. Kody bursts out of the chair. "This is ridiculous. This hearing isn't about whatever it is she's pulling here. She's doing all this to ruin the whole family." He shouts atop his lung, fortunately getting everyone's attention. The gavel slams down. "Sit down, Mr. Brown." Kody doesn't budge, until Robyn pulls on his sleeve. "Come on, get down," she urges, tugging hard on him. But Kody's transfixed on Meri's reaction, as she stares at the envelope. Kody's eyes, Meri, doesn't even look at him. "I have been quiet for years." She struggles with emotion. "I protected people who didn't protect me. I forgave things I shouldn't have. But today, I'm choosing truth." She carefully opens the envelope. Papers spool out. Documents, images, and a USB drive. Christine leans forward. Janelle's breath catches. But he doesn't give them to Meri yet. But instead, she looks at Kody and Robyn, with her eyes ice-cold and empty. "These you should remember," she says, "because what's in here proves the lies you've been telling this court. The lies you've been telling all of us." Robyn appears as if she might faint. Kody's knuckles turn white from holding the table so hard. The judge leans forward. "Ms. Brown, would you mind expanding on that?" "Specifically, what information do these papers include?" "Specifically, what information do these papers include?" Meri raises her chin. "They demonstrate that the DNA evidence associated with Robyn's custody petition was not merely inadequately preserved, but never existed at all." The whole court gasps. Robyn's eyes fill instantly. She whispers, her head shaking. "But Meri continues, the lab didn't lose the results. There were no results, because the samples were never sent. The files were falsified." The judge abruptly straightens. "Forged?" Meri nods. "Yes, and I can prove who did it." Kody, bangs on the table. Stop lying. That's insane. Enough. Sit down. The judge snaps. But Kody's mask is beginning to crack. His eyes scan frantically about the room for an exit that doesn't exist. Meri moves closer and puts the documents before the judge. There's more, she says. Much more. Robyn hides her face as she silently sobs. Meri. She whispers it again, as if saying it might make a difference. But Meri doesn't have mercy. Not here, not now, not after everything. The judge carefully opens the file, his eyebrows knit even tighter with every page. Are you suggesting that they have put forth forged DNA evidence so as to impact a custody ruling? He asks. I'm not accusing them, Meri continues. I'm proving it. Kody's breathing becomes loud and irregular. Sweat begins forming at his temples. Robyn holds onto his hand, whispering, Say something. Please say something. But Kody can't talk. And because deep down, he knows exactly what Meri discovered. The judge then asks, Where did you obtain this information? Meri draws a slow breath. This is from someone who was involved. Someone who participated in covering it up. Someone who eventually realized they couldn't continue to hide them. The courtroom falls silent. Christine's mouth opens slightly. Janelle's eyes widen. Kody's voice breaks. No, not them. Meri, you didn't. I did, she replies. The judge gestures to the bailiff. Bring the witness. The back doors swing open. A hooded figure enters with slow steps. Their hood shades most of their face. All sounds echo. The audience whispers as they try and make out who it is. Christine's hand goes to her mouth. Janelle clutches her bench. Kody stands once more, but no longer with rage, but with panic. No, you can't bring them in. They don't know what they're talking about, he shouts. Robyn tries to pull him back. Kody, please, stop. Don't make it worse, she pleads. The figure approaches the stand. They lower their hood, and the room explodes. Voices are shouting. Gasps are audible. A scream erupts from the back. Kody appears to be completely blown away by what just happened. Robyn freezes as her own tears remain stuck on her cheeks. It's because the witness isn't just anyone. They are someone who understands the Browns very well. Someone who had complete and full access within all these documents. These conversations. These secrets. The judge pounds his gavel. Order, order. The witness adjusts the microphone. Their voice starts shaking, but becomes stronger. I'm here today because I can't protect Kody anymore. Total silence ensues. All people in the court hold their breaths as they wait for what follows. But the witness does not continue. Not yet. Their eyes focus on Kody, and they are filled with something very complex. Guilt, fear, perhaps even relief. Kody stumbles backward, almost tripping on the legs of his chair. What are you doing? He whispers harshly. You promised. The witness begins shaking his head. I swore I would testify truthfully. And today, I will keep my promise. The witness appears on the stand, hands shaking as they position the mic. The silence in the room is so airtight it's almost audible, and even the flicker of fluorescent overheads seems loud. The collective gaze of every camera lens, every set of eyes, every breathing being focuses on them. It's no longer a hearing, it's an unwinding. The judge clears his throat. Please state your name for the record. A prolonged silence. The witness takes a shaky breath. My name is Leah Thompson. A ripple passes across the room. Shock and confusion. Recognition and denial. No way. whispers Christine under her breath. Janelle sits like a statue. Robyn holds both hands over her mouth. And Kody, he slumps into his chair as if someone just punched the air out of him. But here she is, sitting before them, ready to speak. The judge nods. Ms. Thompson, do you know that it is a crime to lie under oath? She nods unsteadily. I see. She regards her hands for a moment before looking back up. I didn't want to be here. I avoided it for a long time. I couldn't just live with it anymore, not knowing what it meant to some of the people in this room. The judge gestures soothingly. Tell us what you know. Leah swallows hard. Her voice breaks. Kody asked me to alter the DNA documents. Gasps erupt momentarily. The judge bangs his gavel for silence. But things don't quiet down soon. A voice from the back cries, I knew it. Someone sobs. The air crackles with energy, menace, restlessness, and popping with readiness to boil over. Leah continues talking, quivering with fear. It wasn't just him. Robyn was involved too. Robyn slumps her head into her hands and begins crying uncontrollably. Kody looks at her wildly and whispers something that cannot be heard. It could be anger or it could be pleading, but it's hard to see which. Leah continues, I didn't want to do it, but they said it was just for a short period of time. It was to buy time with the court, and they assured me they'd get it straightened out once they were done. She looks at the judge, but they never corrected anything. Finally, Kody blows his top. Lies, he yells, pounding both fists on the table. You're lying, so you can save yourself. You disappeared. You took documents from us. Leah's breath catches. You said I stole documents because you wanted me discredited. Mr. Brown, you'd better sit down and be quiet, or I'll have you removed from court, growls the judge. But Kody can't sit. Anger oozes from him like heat. His hands are possessively entwined in his hair as he paces back and forth within a tight circle. Christine and Janelle share a look that speaks volumes about its happening. All that we have ever suspected will finally be revealed. Leah continues talking with a quivering voice. They wanted me to forge a chain of custody for sample data that had never been sent, and swap out the original lab document with an empty document. Christine lets out a loud gasp. Oh my God. Janelle covers her mouth with her hand. Meri freezes, but the pain and anger racing across her features speaks volumes more than any cry might have done. The judge leans forward. Miss Thompson, you said they asked. Did anyone pressure you, threaten you? Leah nods slowly. They said if I didn't help, then they would blame me for destroying their family, and then they would sue me for breach of contract. Robyn cries even harder. Leah, you're twisting everything around. We were just trying to protect our kids. Stop talking. Don't say anything, Kody snaps. Robyn flinches at his tone. She shrinks back, wiping at tears that start falling. Leah shakes her head. I tried telling myself I was doing good, that it was necessary. But then Meri reached out months ago. Something shifted. All eyes turned to Meri. She wanted to know if I remembered anything unusual about the custody papers. She never accused me. She never threatened me. Just asked questions. Leah goes on. Meri lowers her eyes. She didn't push. She didn't seek revenge. She just sought the truth. Leah's voice trembles once more. And then I understood that she alone ever treated me as if I were a human being. Not as an employee, not as a pawn. She turns back to the judge. That's when I decided I had to come forward. The judge nods slowly, taking it all in. We will, of course, authenticate the documents, but what you are describing is serious criminal misconduct. Kody goes on a rant. This is a conspiracy. They have been planning against me for years. They're trying to bring me down. Christine smirks sarcastically. You brought that on yourself, Kody. This isn't about destroying you. This is about the truth, whispers Janelle. Kody gestures at Leah, quivering with fury. She's lying because she hates us. Leah looks at him, with tears streaming down her face. I never hated you. I admired you. You were a family I looked up to, and you used that to manipulate me. She speaks again. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here because people have a right to know what you have done. Suddenly, Robyn lunges forward, sobbing. We were scared, she cries. Right? We were scared we'd lose custody. Everything was falling apart. The show, the family, everything. The courtroom falls silent. Because for the first time, Robyn admits something. Not guilt, but fear. Kody pulls her back. Stop, don't talk. But Robyn puts her hands up and shakes her head. You don't understand, Kody. You never understood. You were saying everything would be okay. But it wasn't. You kept making promises you couldn't keep. The room stands with bated breath as Robyn begins to unravel. Tears stream down her face. She clings to the edge of the table, her eyes wild with tears. I thought if the court believed certain things, they would give us time. Time to mend our family, to be together. She exhales a tremulous breath. But it only made everything worse. Meri stares at her, hurt flashing within her eyes. You lied to all of us, Robyn. Robyn cries harder. I know, but I didn't know what else to do. The judge again addresses Meri. Ms. Brown, did you arrange for Miss Thompson's presence here today? No, replies Meri. I just asked her questions. She wanted to come on her own. The judge nods, satisfied. But then he focuses on Leah. There's something more. Why did you leave the Browns so abruptly? Leah freezes. Really, Frank? A silence falls over the room like a shadow. At last, she whispers, because I accidentally overheard something. The judge leaned forward. What did you overhear? Leah's voice goes low, quiet, trembling, almost fearful. A conversation between Kody and Robyn. Kody's face goes white. Robyn's lips shake wildly. Leah goes on, every word landing like broken glass on the floor. They were talking about a child. The room goes totally still. Christine clutches the bench so hard that her knuckles turn white. Janelle's eyes widen with horror. Meri just looks as if her heart just stopped. The judge frowned. A child? Leah nods. They said the DNA results had to match. Because as they didn't. She closes her eyes and lets her tears fall. The truth about the child's real father would come out. The courtroom goes into an uproar. A loud scream rings. A person passes out. The judge pounds the gavel and calls out for order. Kody lurches forward, shouting, Stop! You stop right now. But Leah manages to get one more thing out before the bailiff quiets the mob. That child wasn't biologically Kody. The room explodes. It was late, far beyond the time that regular families would have already gathered at a dinner table and shared a meal. Had already laughed at something that had happened during the day and were settled into the warm, comforting familiarity of home. But there was no comfort at home tonight. Not after the secret had clawed its way out into the open. A cold wind blew through the partially open window, rattling it as if it were an irritated signal of a tempest outside. But there was a storm, much more intense, within the living room. Aunt May stood motionless, her chest heaving with short gasps as her hands shook with effort as she clung to the edge of the couch. Across from her, Emma, the woman and niece that she had raised and loved more than life itself, slumped on the floor with tears running down her face. Her breath caught with short hiccuping sobs as she repeated the words that came before. "I didn't mean for you to find out. I swear I didn't." The confession reverberated in the air, loud as a gunshot. Aunt May's voice broke as she finally spoke. "Emma, you're telling me you went behind my back with them?" Emma closed her eyes tightly, shaking. "I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know what else to do." Aunt May plopped down on the edge of the armchair, gazing at the young woman who had gone from diaper changes to womanhood under her care. The first time she held her. The first time she took her for walks. The first time she said Mum instead of Aunt May, because love had removed the distance of titles. All these memories were slipping, like sand, through May's fingers. "What did they tell you?" May asked softly. "What did my sister tell you? What did my family offer you that I couldn't?" Emma fell apart. "I don't want your apologies," Aunt May said. "I want because for so long, May had been the only one who came to school meetings, who worked 2 shifts so as to be able to afford her textbooks, who sat up with Emma through fever, heartbreak, and dreams. And then her family, who had abandoned Emma at birth, wanted her back. It made no sense. Unless they needed something. Her sister was cold and calculating, and never wanted anything that didn't get her what she wanted. Aunt May leaned forward. "Emma, what exactly did they ask you to do?" Emma's silence was the answer. Tears welled up in May's eyes, but she suppressed them, refusing to let sorrow cloud her mind. "You can't protect them anymore," she whispered. "You owe me the truth. All of it." Emma tried wiping her shaking hands against her face. They told me not to say anything. They said if you found out, everything would fall apart again." "Again?" May whispered. "What do you mean again?" Emma looked at the floor, her voice barely audible. "They said you weren't stable, that you couldn't handle the truth, that you'd lose me the way you lost everyone else." Every word was a knife. Aunt May clutched the chair so hard in an effort not to fall apart. "Emma," she said, her words trembling, "I didn't lose people because I was crazy. I lost people because I was the only one who spoke the truth. The only one who would not play the family game." Emma could only shake her head. "I didn't know. They made it sound different. They made it sound like you were hiding things from me. Like you'd been lying to me this whole time." May's breath caught. She had known it for months, maybe years, that her sister's family would eventually make a move on taking Emma with them. They had everything going for them, the money, connections, and picture-perfect family. But they resented Emma's preference for May's small house, her character, and authenticity. But it's an understatement to say that she never anticipated anything like this degree. "You believed them?" May asked gently. "I was scared," Emma sobbed. "They said I deserved better, that you weren't my real mother, that I should be with my blood." Aunt May closed her eyes. It haunted her. Those words, my blood. The idea that love and blood were unrelated. Raising a child. With sacrificing sleep, time, dreams. Family, it isn't something that's skin deep. Family is slowly. May stood up. She didn't shout. She didn't curse. She didn't break. Her voice was achingly calm. "So what did you do for them, Emma? What did they make you do?" Emma sniffled, her hands twisting nervously. "They told me to get information," she whispered. "About your will. About the land. About the lawsuit. They wanted me to find the documents." May knew her knees were weakened. "The lawsuit?" she repeated. "Emma, that lawsuit was for your protection, to keep them from taking you. They knew about it?" Emma nodded miserably. They said if I helped them, they would drop everything. They would stop fighting you. Aunt May didn't feel well. That's a lie, she repeated. They never meant to stop. All they wanted was to use you to get what they wanted, just like they use everyone else. Emma's face contorted with guilt. "Oh no," she cried. "I realized too late. I shouldn't have gone. I shouldn't have talked with them. I felt cornered." "I felt alone." May's voice softened. "You were never alone." Silence fell, thick, heavy. The thunder outside was loud enough to shake the windows. Emma flinched, and for an instant, it was as if it were that child whom May had so often comforted after a nightmare. The child who had crawled into May's bed with a blanket and whispered, "Don't leave me." Aunt May walked towards her slowly. "Emma," she said softly, "look at me." Emma lifted her tear-stained face. May knelt before her. "I'm hurt. I'm broken-hearted. But I'm still here. I'm not walking out on you. Not now, not ever. But what you just did is a betrayal. And you have to comprehend just how much." Emma nodded faintly, her tears dripping from her chin. "I'm sorry," she wept. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know what I was doing until it was too late. I just wanted everyone to stop fighting." Aunt May took a quivering breath. "They said they would come if I didn't bring the papers." A shiver ran down May's spine. "Emma, what did you tell them?" she whispered urgently. "Did they think you were carrying the documents with you?" Emma hesitated, then nodded. Aunt May stood, her heart racing with a fear that was no longer emotional, but physical. Defensive, ferocious, motherly. The knock came again, louder this time. Even more like a threat than an offer. May looked at Emma, whose face had turned white. "It's then," Emma whispered. "They want the will, the land papers, everything." Another thunderous knock. May tensed. "Stay behind me," she said firmly. Emma clutched her arm. "May, don't open it. They're mad. They said they would take what they needed if I didn't do what they wanted." Aunt May took a deep breath, steeling herself against the shadows dancing on the frosted glass. In a low and steady voice, there came these whispers. The old wooden door rattled wildly as it twisted at the turn of the handle on the opposite side. Aunt May stood still, her heart thumping rhythmically as it beat within her chest. It was as if time itself stood still. Emma clung to May's arm, whispering in a frantic breath, "Don't open it, please, don't let them in." But it was already too late. The door slowly swung open with a deliberate groan. A burst of moist night air blew into the house, and with it came the rich aroma of rainy earth. Thunder growled in the distance, a warning reverberating on itself. Standing in the doorway were two figures, silhouetted, rigid, and very cold. It took but an instant for May. Her sister, Margaret, wearing her characteristic well-put-together outfit, her hair pulled back and secured with pins, her eyes glinting with knife-like sharpness. By her side stood her husband, Thomas, towering and muscular, his face set with controlled ire. Both of them looked out of place amidst the meager surroundings of May's home. Margaret's lips twisted into a thin smile. "Well," she drawled, "isn't this a surprise?" May stepped forward to protect Emma from their sight. "What are you doing here?" May demanded, her voice firm, but there was a tremble in her chest. Thomas spoke, voice low and hard. "We're here for what belongs to us." "I told you," she whispered. "I told you they wouldn't stop." Maggie looked at Emma with an expression that made May's blood boil. An expression of disappointment and possession, as if Emma were an object, not a child. "Emma," she said coolly, "you didn't bring what you promised." Emma's breath caught. May snapped. "She doesn't owe you anything. Margaret's eyebrows arched. Oh, May, you're so dramatic. You're so good at victimhood. We wouldn't be going through all of this if you had just played along all those years ago. May clenched her fists. Cooperated, she repeated. You're talking about turned in the child you abandoned? Margaret's smile turned glacier. She was never yours. And you never wanted her, May shot back. Thomas entered the room, and with each step, he made wet marks on the wooden floor. We're not here to argue. We want the papers, all of them. The will, the land documents, the lawsuit papers. Give it to us, and this will all be over with tonight. May stiffened. Do you think you can just barge into my house and make demands of me? Thomas's face clouded. You forfeited your right to all these things because you brought our family business into court. This land should have remained within our family. You made it complicate. May almost laughed at the ridiculousness. What's messy, she shot back, is that you're trying to take land that wasn't even yours to begin with. That's why I filed the lawsuit, to protect Emma's future. Margaret snorted. Emma doesn't need your protecting. She needs a stable life, a proper family. She deserves better than this shack. The slur struck May like a slap. She took a slow step forward, her voice as sharp as glass. Say what you want about me, but don't you dare talk about my home. And don't you dare pretend you care about Emma. For an instant, a glimmer appeared in Margaret's eyes. Anger, perhaps, or perhaps guilt, but it was gone almost as soon as it materialized. Thomas folded his arms. We're wasting time. Where are the papers? May, let's get some air. The documents are locked away, and I'm not giving them to you. Not tonight. Not ever. Period. Rain began tapping on the windows, and it would synchronize with the beating of May's heart. Margaret's smile faded. Do you think you're going to emerge as winners here? The court will not safeguard you for life. When we unmask all that you have been covering up. And hiding, May repeated incredulously. I haven't been hiding anything. You're the ones who have been lying to Emma, manipulating her, telling her stories just so you can get her against me. Thomas turned his head sharply at Emma. She came to us. She asked questions. She wanted to know the truth. May turned to Emma softly. Emma hugged herself as tears began forming again. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. They said you would fall apart if I confronted you. May's eyes softened, even as Margaret and Thomas sat with cool impatience. Sweetheart, May whispered. I'm still standing. I'm not as fragile as they want you to believe. Maggie cut in sharply. Enough. Emma, listen to me. Your aunt has been lying to you for years. May turned abruptly. That's not true. Oh, isn't it? Margaret said, taking a step forward with a fierce glint. Tell her, May. Tell her the truth about why we left her with you. Tell her the truth about the fight, about the guilt you carry. May sensed a slight tilt in the room. That old hurt, the one she had so carefully interred, ached with. Emma looked at them with confused eyes. What's she talking about? Aunt May. What guilt? May took a nervous breath. It was exactly what she had always dreaded. The truth that she didn't want to speak. Not because she wanted to hide it, but because saying it meant opening once again the blackest chapter of all their lives. Margaret took advantage of the hesitation as if it were a weapon. You see, she won't tell you. She never wanted you to know you weren't just abandoned. You were the result of a mistake she made, a mistake that ruined everything. Emma let out a gentle gasp. May's heart broke. That's not true, May whispered. Emma, don't listen. Margaret spoke up. It is true. Our family broke apart because May could not mind her own business. Because she interfered. Because she caused the scandal that made us leave you with her. Emma's face turned ashen. May shook her head emphatically. No, Emma, I will explain everything. Just not like this. Not with them distorting it. Thomas took a step forward. His presence filled the room. You've had years to explain, he growled. You haven't, so now we will. He pulled an envelope from the pocket of his coat and tossed it on the coffee table. Documents that were in there. Photographs, copies of some old reports, declarations. She knew exactly what they were. Emma looked at the papers and then at May. What is all this? Margaret pumped her arms ecstatically. The truth, everything she didn't want you to know. May stepped forward swiftly. Emma, don't. But Emma was already kneeling on the floor with shaking hands as she gathered up the papers. Her breathing became irregular. Her eyes were taking it all in at incredible speed. And then she whispered, broken. Aunt May, is this why you and my mum stopped speaking? Is this why they left? Because of this. May felt a stinging sensation as tears gathered in her eyes. Emma, I was trying to protect you. Margaret smiled. Are they from us, or are they from your own guilt? May swallowed hard. The thunder boomed outside, rattling the house. Emma slowly stood up, holding the papers. Her voice shook. I trusted you, she said to May. But this changes everything. Margaret put her hand on Emma's shoulder. Come home, sweetheart, she said softly. Come with your real family. We can fix all of this. May's heart froze. No, she whispered. Emma, don't go with them. They're using you. They always have. Emma was clearly torn, her position angled toward Margaret, but her eyes locked on May. The door stood open behind them, rain and wind pouring into the entrance. For an instant, everything hung in the balance. May came forward, voice breaking. Emma, please, let me explain. Don't walk away from me like that. Emma took a deep and trembling breath. I just need time, she whispered. I need to understand everything. Then she passed by May, not toward her, not towards safety. But then, as it relates to the Margaret and Thomas, were successful and followed her. And as the door slammed shut, something broke within May. A gentle, brutal, and absolute smashing. And then she whispered into the empty room. I lost her. Again. The rain lashed against the windows of the courthouse, like an incessant warning. May stood alone in the dark hallway, her breath quivering, as she gazed at the closed court doors. The highly polished marble floor reflected her figure, small and fragile, but still upright. Today wasn't supposed to be like this. Emma shouldn't have been on the opposite side of that door, not with them, not buying into the lies they fed her, as if they were truths. May took a shaky breath as the bailiff cried out, Case 47B, Margaret and Thomas versus May Henderson. The hearing will proceed shortly. Her legs wobbled beneath her for an instant. She reached out to the wall to hold herself up and felt the chill seep into her grasp. Both matched the chill spreading across her chest. It was more than a court case. It was a battle for Emma's heart, her future, and her notions about what had really gone on in the past. The hallway hummed with whispers as lawyers shuffled documents. As families murmured about their fears, as distant echoes from other trials reverberated. But May absorbed none of it. Her focus had narrowed down to a tunnel, silent, choking, contracting towards disaster. She closed her eyes and whispered, Please, let her see the truth today. The heavy court doors swung open. she noticed her own heart blur. Emma entered first. She had on a pale blue sweater, with her sleeves pulled down over her hands. Her hair pulled back, as if she were making an attempt to look older and more muscular. But her eyes looked puffy and tired. Behind her trailed Margaret and Thomas, who were donned in dark formal attire, as if they were attending a funeral instead of a hearing. Their attorney brought up the rear, looking pleased with himself, and clutching a heavy briefcase that oozed confidence. May's breath caught as Emma looked at her. There was no anger, no hate, only a deep, gnawing confusion. May made a soft, hopeful nod. Emma didn't return it. Emma lowered her gaze and took her seat next to her mother. The rejection cut more deeply than any knife. May entered the court slowly and took her seat with shaking hands. Her own attorney, a composed woman named Julia, whispered something reassuring in her ear and took her hands. "We're ready. Just breathe." In the front row, journalists were seated with notebooks poised and alert eyes. It was a story that had been murmured about town in whispers, of an abandoned child, an inheritance of land, and family secrets. Everyone wanted a piece. Judge Whittaker entered, stern-faced and inscrutable, with his robes flowing as he took his seat. Court is now in session. May exhaled, steadying her nerves. All was about to come apart. What happens next will decide everything. Don't lose focus. Margaret's attorney spoke first, smoothly and polished, as his words sliced through tension like a knife. "Your Honor, today we offer evidence that proves Ms. May Henderson deliberately suppressed vital information regarding inheritance and manipulated the child, Emma, for several years." May flinched. It wasn't a charge. It was character assassination. The fact that my clients want full guardianship, access to the inherited land, and an immediate removal of Ms. Henderson from any legal position involving Emma. Margaret leaned forward, ever so slightly, her eyes blazing with the certainty that victory was already within her grasp. Emma shifted uncomfortably and twisted her fingers around the hem of her sweater sleeve. Julia spoke next, her voice calm but firm. "Your Honor, what my client chose to withhold was nothing, but what my client chose to protect was everything, and the court will see that today." The judge nodded. "You may begin." The first witness who testified was Thomas. He walked confidently up to the stand, laying one hand on the Bible, and taking the oath before he settled into the chair. Margaret eyed him like a hawk, full of pride and conviction that he would ruin May's credibility. Julia moved forward. "Mr. Powell, can you explain why you think Ms. Henderson is unsuitable?" Thomas interlaced his hands. "She protected Emma from learning the truth. She suppressed information that impacted property rights within our family. She alienated Emma. And then there's—" "Objection," Julia put in. "Sustained," said the judge. Its jaw relaxed. "She lied," he corrected. "She always has." It twisted painfully in her stomach. Julia raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Powell, is it a fact that you and your wife have left Emma with Ms. Henderson for more than 10 years?" Thomas hesitated. The court became silent. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Yes." "And you never provided financial support, visitation requests, or educational involvement within that decade?" Thomas looked as if he had swallowed a stone. We were dealing with family issues." Julia's voice turned sharp. "And so, You came back because you were made aware of the inheritance that corresponded with Emma's name? Margaret stood up straight. Thomas looked cornered. Emma looked as if her heart had fallen into her stomach. Thomas tried to smile. No, we came back because Emma reached out. She deserved answers. Julia drew nearer. Answers you only offered after obtaining copies of the land documents. Thomas didn't answer. Your Honor, the timeline speaks for itself. This is irrelevant, Your Honor. It's absolutely relevant, he repeated bluntly. Continue. May looked at Emma. Tears glistened in the girl's eyes. But she remained silent. Sometimes the truth will shake an entire room before someone ever verbalizes it. The next witness who testified was Margaret. She walked towards the stand with garishly practicable elegance, raised her right hand and took an oath. Afterwards, she sat down and elegantly crossed her legs. Julia started with the questions. Mrs. Powell, explain why you thought Emma couldn't be left alone with Miss Henderson. Margaret let out a deep breath. She's an unstable woman. An emotional woman. She let her own past cloud her judgment, and Emma suffered because of it. May felt her nails digging into her palms. Julia stepped forward. What past are you referring to? Margaret stumbled. Her guilt. The incident. The judge looked up. Specify, Mrs. Powell. Margaret swallowed. May intervened in our marriage. She created a scene that escalated. The police were involved. And then, no way could the family remain united. And Emma. Emma got caught up in it. May closed her eyes. It wasn't the whole truth. And Margaret knew it. Julia spoke softly. So your assertion that Ms. Henderson split your family apart, or perhaps you never wanted Emma at all, only wanted the land once it was worth something? Gasps of surprise reverberated among onlookers. Margaret's face turned red. How dare you? But the question here, Julia, is why you failed to fight for your daughter back then, and why you're so tirelessly fighting for land today, he said. Emma finally looked up. It was the first time that she hadn't looked at May with confusion. She was looking at her mother with hurt. Deprivation. Silent pain. Margaret's voice broke. We wanted her, but things were complicated. Julia turned her head. Complicated enough to abandon her, but simple enough to find lawyers for a land dispute. The silence pounded at the air. May noticed Emma's hands shaking on her lap. She wanted to run to her, hold her, protect her from all this cruelty. But she couldn't move. Not at present. Not in court. The judge shifted his glasses. Mrs. Powell, answer the question. Margaret appeared desperate, glancing at Thomas, and then at Emma. We came back because she deserved her real family, she snapped. Julia's voice softened. Then why did she appear at Miss Henderson's door, crying for help? Margaret stood, frozen. Emma appeared absolutely devastated. The walls were closing in on her. Because when truth breaks into your heart, it doesn't knock. It breaks on through. And then came a twist no one predicted. Julia brought an envelope with her. It was sealed. Your Honor, I would like to enter new evidence. Margaret's eyes widened. That wasn't part of discovery. It was sealed until today, Julia answered calmly. Delivered last night. The bailiff delivered the envelope to the judge. He carefully opened it. He read the first page. His eyes narrowed. I read the second page. His jaw clenched. Margaret's face turned white. Thomas looked as if he could sense the earth tremble beneath his feet. The judge closed his folder and looked up. "Mrs. Powell," he said seriously, with a deep voice, "you're going to have to explain this." May looked at her brother and felt her breath hitch. Emma literally looked scared out of her wits, staring at her mother as if she didn't know her. Because the judge isn't looking at May. He wasn't looking at Julia. His eyes were on Margaret, with an expression that said, "The truth will soon be revealed." And then, definitively, the judge said, "Court will be adjourned for 20 minutes. And when we return, Mrs. Powell, you will account for these documents." May sat frozen. Emma covered her mouth with trembling hands. Margaret's eyes were filled with panic. Something dreadful had just come to light. And then there's the worst part. May didn't even know what it was yet.